So one last example. This is question 4. Again, I'm going to use the TI-4 to kind of model this. So we want to find the range and the standard deviation for this sample. They give us the value and they also give us a frequency list. I'm going to put this in our lists as L1 and L2 to start with. So I go to Stat, go to Edit, and I've already got stuff in L1. I'm going to clear that off, hit clear, drop down. So I'm going to pause a moment. I'm going to put these values into L1 and these values into L2. I've got the values in L1 and the frequencies in L2. So this means that the 2 occurred 3 times. The 3 occurred 4, the 4 occurred 4, the 5 didn't occur at all, and the 6 occurred 1 time. So notice how it's kind of heavy between the 3 and the 4. That's where our clustering is more 3s and 4s. So if we're talking about it, if I was doing a mean, it should be close to 3 or 4. Now, what our question is how much is it dispersed from the mean? That's going to be our standard deviation and our range. Well, standard deviation is dispersing from the mean. The range is simply the max minus the min. So if I'm talking about the range in this problem, it's already in order. So 6 minus 2 would give us our max and min, which would just be our range would be 4. Not so hard for the range. Now the standard deviation, again, we're doing for a sample. So that's our S here. So our standard deviation, one way of doing it is if I go to list, so I have to quit this. So the quit button is above the mode. So one way to do it is if I go to list, which is above stat, go to math, I go down to number 7, which is standard deviation. So I'm just going to click the 7. It'll take me straight there. And then my value list is L1, so second L1, and then there's a comma right above the 7. And I have a frequency list I have to add to that. So second L2, close parenthesis, hit enter. That should give me my standard deviation. And they say around to 1 decimal place. So that would be, looks like 1.2. Now, another way to do standard deviation is you can go to stat. Instead of list, you can go to stat, slide over to calculate 1 var statistics. It's already highlighted. Hit enter. L1, but notice how this time we need a frequency list. So we need to add an L2 to that. So second L2, and then drop down to calculate, hit enter. It'll give us our mean. Notice how we were saying there's more 3s and 4s, so it seems like the mean should be around 3 and 4, and the mean is 3.3. Um, Notice that the S of X is our standard deviation for the sample, and notice how that would be also 1.2 if we ran to 1 decimal place, because that 5 does move it up to a 2, so it looks like the same thing. The sigma X is actually a population standard deviation, which they're not asking for. Notice how the median is 3, so they're saying that the median would have been 3. Notice how the mode would have been 3 and 4, since they both repeated the most times. So the mode would have been 3 and 4. But all we really need here is the standard deviation, which was 1.2. So we had 2 ways to do that. Okay. So that concludes our lessons on some of the statistics.